Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam here on Canto 5, Chapter 1, Text 7. अथाह भगवान् आदिदेव एतस्य गुणविसर्गस्य
भगवान् आदिदेव एतस्य गुणविसर्गस्य
ब्रह्मणानुध्यान व्यवसिता सकल जगत अभिप्राय आत्मा
परिब्रह्मण अन्वयाय व्यवस्थित सकल जगत अभिप्राय आत्मा
योनिर अखिल निगम निज गण परिविशेषित स्वभवनाद अवतार
योनिर अखिल निगम निज गण
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sri Sukadeva Goswami continued, the first created being and most powerful demigod in this universe is Lord Brahma, who is always responsible for developing universal affairs. Born directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he dedicates his activities to the welfare of the entire universe, for he knows the purpose of the universal creation. This supremely powerful Lord Brahma, accompanied by his associates and the personified Vedas, left his own abode in the highest planetary system and descended to the place of Prince Priyavrata's meditation. So does anyone remember what pastime we are on currently? What's happening?
We are here to know about the lineage of Manu, and this is the second son of Lord Manu, and they have requested Priyavrat to take on the Grahastha life because his father Manu wants to retire, and we all are wondering that why Manu Maharaj, being such a great devotee, he entered the Grahastha life.
Yeah, that's right. So this Parikshit Maharaj is putting the question to Sukadeva Goswami that why Priyavrata, pure devotee, why he's entering Grahastha. Yes, thank you. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Self Atma, is the source of everything as explained in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadi Asya Yataha. Because Brahma was born directly from Lord Vishnu, he is called Atma Yoni. He is also called Bhagavan. Although generally Bhagavan refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu or Lord Krishna. Sometimes great personalities such as demigods like Lord Brahma, Narad or Lord Shiva are also addressed as Bhagavan. Why? Because they carry out the purpose of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they are called Bhagavan because they are carrying out the orders of God. Lord Brahma is called Bhagavan because he is the secondary creator of this universe. So we may think that Lord Brahma is the one who is the original creator. But after studying Bhagavatam, specifically the first 3 cantos, we come to understand that Lord Brahma is the secondary creator. The first creator is God, Lord Vishnu. So Lord Brahma is like the potter, the raw materials are already given to him. Then he gives shape to the pots, he gives shape to the earth. So Krishna, Vishnu, or God, he already creates all the material elements, earth, water, air, fire, all the elements are all created. And Lord Brahma is giving shape. He's deciding, okay, which planet is going to go where, which living entity is going to go in which planet, which body. So he's the secondary creator. He's always thinking of how to improve the situation of the conditioned souls who have come to the material world to enjoy material activities. For this reason, he disseminates the Vedic knowledge throughout the universe for everyone's guidance. So Lord Brahma, we are coming in Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnav Sampradaya. We are coming from the Sampradaya which begins from Lord Brahma. He heard the Vedas from Lord Krishna, Tene Brahma Hridaya Yadi Kavaye. The first verse of Bhagavatam says that Krishna spoke the Vedas into the heart of Brahma. So now Brahmaji, he's heard the Vedas. He does not want to keep the knowledge for himself. He's very compassionate. So pure devotee is always compassionate. What knowledge they have, the spiritual knowledge, they want to give to everyone so that everyone can become peaceful in this life. At the end of life, can go back home, back to Godhead. Vedic knowledge is divided into two parts, Pravritti Marg and Nivritti Marg. Nivritti Marg is the path of negating sense enjoyment, and Pravritti Marg is the path by which the living entities are given a chance to enjoy at the same time, are directed in such a way that they can go back home, back to Godhead. So what is Pravritti Marg?
The path that we are living, the material, like how we can enjoy the material in the material world. And then we
Yeah,
can go back to Godhead with doing that, right?
yes. And the Nivritti Marg?
Is the one where we are not involved materially and
Yeah,
we involve in Krishna Bhakti. Is it?
renouncing, Nivritti
Now,
Marg, negating sense enjoyment. So renounce. Okay, so because ruling over this universe is a great responsibility, Brahma must force many Manus in different ages to take charge of universal affairs. How many Manus come in one day of Brahma?
14.
14. That's right. Thank you. Under each Manu, there are different kings who also execute the purpose of Lord Brahma. It is understood from previous explanations that the father of Dhruv Maharaj, King Uttanapad, ruled over the universe because his elder brother Priyavrat practiced austerity from the very beginning of his life. Thus, up to the point of the Prachetas, the kings of the universe were all descendants of Uttanapad Maharaj. Since there were no suitable kings after the Prachetas, Swayambhuva Manu went to the Gandha Madana hill to bring back his eldest son Priyavrat, who was meditating there. I wonder why Daksh did not take up because we heard the Prachetas gave birth to Daksh, right? At the end of the fourth canto, and Daksh became a great Prajapati, and he was populating the universe, isn't it? Anyway, this is how the story goes, the pastime goes. So Swayambhuva Manu goes to Priyavrat. Swayambhuva Manu requested Priyavrat to rule over the universe. When he refused, Lord Brahma descended from the supreme planetary system known as Satyalok to request Priyavrat to accept the order. Lord Brahma did not come alone. He came with other great sages like Marichi, Atreya, and Vasishtha to convince Priyavrat that it was necessary for him to follow the Vedic injunctions and accept the responsibility of ruling over the world. Lord Brahma also brought with him the personified Vedas, his constant associates. So, this is a good strategy. Lord Brahma is not going alone. He's taking people who will help him to convince Priyavrat. Like if we also want to convince someone, it's good to go together with someone. We alone might not be able to do it in any field that could be. So a significant word in this verse is Swa Bhavanat, indicating that Lord Brahma descended from his own abode. Every demigod has his own abode. So Indra, the king of the demigods, has his own abode, as to Chandra, the lord of the moon planet, and Surya, the predominating deity of the sun planet. So each planet has their predominating deity. The sun has a deity, sun god, Surya Dev. Chandra Dev, the deity of the moon planet. Swargalok, ruled by Lord Indra, Lord Brahma is ruling the planet Satyalok or Brahmalok. There are many millions of demigods, and the stars and planets are their respective homes. Right? There are 33 crore demigods. So each one is ruling some planet or some star. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Yanti Deva Vrata Devan. Those who worship the demigods go to their different planetary systems. Lord Brahma's abode, the highest planetary system, is called Satyalok or sometimes Brahmalok. Brahmalok usually refers to the spiritual world. The abode of Lord Brahma is Satyalok, but because Lord Brahma resides there, it is also sometimes called Brahmalok. So, this Brahmalok where Lord Brahma lives, that is still within the material world. It's not in the spiritual world. It's the highest planet in the material world. And if Brahma is a pure devotee, then from Brahmalok, he goes to the spiritual world, if he's a pure devotee. And if he's a pure devotee, then all the other inhabitants of Brahmalok also go to the spiritual world, after he dies, which is like 311 trillion or some like this a very big figure. So understanding that it's still within the material world. Okay, Satatra Tatra Gaganatala Udupatir Iva Vimanavalibe.
Satatra tatra gangana tala udupati iva vimana vallibi.
Anupatham Amara Parivriddher Abhipujyamana Pati Pati Cha.
Anupatam
परिव्रणे
parivriddher
अभिपूज्यमानं पतिपति च वरूयथश्च
Varuthashah Siddha Gandharva Sadhya Charana Muniganer.
Varutasya siddha gandharva sadhya charana muni gani.
Pagiyamano Gandhamadana Dronim Avabhasayan Upasasarpa.
Upagiya mano gandha madana dronim avabhasayan upasasar.
Lord Brahma descended on his carrier, the great swan. All the residents of the planets named Siddhalok, Gandharvalok, Sadhyalok, and Charanalok, as well as great sages and demigods flying in their different airplanes, assembled within the canopy of the sky to receive Lord Brahma and worship him. As he received respect and adoration from the residents of the various planets, Lord Brahma appeared just like the full moon, surrounded by illuminating stars. Lord Brahma's great swan then arrived at the border of Gandhamadana hill and approached Prince Priyavrat, who was sitting there. It appears from this description that there is regular interplanetary travel between the planets of the demigods. Another significant point is that there is a planet covered mostly by great planets. By great mountains. One of which is Gandhamadana Hill. Three great personalities, Priyavrat, Narad, and Swayambhuva Manu, were sitting on this hill. According to Brahma Samhita, each universe is filled with different planetary systems, and every system has a unique opulence. For example, on Siddhalok, all the residents are very advanced in powers of mystic yoga. So, Siddhalok, they have the siddhis, they have perfected the siddhis. They can fly from one planet to another without airplanes or flying machines. We heard that Narad Muni stays there in Siddhalok. So similarly, the residents of Gandharvalok are expert in musical science, and those on Sadhyalok are all great saints. The interplanetary system undoubtedly exists, and residents of different planets may go from one to another. So it's not like the movies are telling us. Some movies say that there is no life on other planets, or at least there's no intelligent life, or there is no good, pure, good life. But in fact, we are seeing the Earth planet is middle planetary system, and as one goes higher and higher to the other planetary systems, the beings over there are more and more qualified, better and better. So, and they can travel from one planet to another. On this earth, however, we have not invented any machine that can go directly from one planet to another, although an unsuccessful attempt has been made to go directly to the moon. So, well, now recently, India, they put a machine there to go to the moon. Anyway, reading on. Tatra va enam devarashir hamsayanena pitaram bhagavantam.
तत्र इवा एनं देवर्षि हंसयानेन पित्रम्
Hiranyagarbham upalabhamana sahasaivo thayar anena saha.
हिरण्यगर्भम् उपलभ्यमान सहसा एव उत्थाय अर्हणेन
Pita putrabhyam avahitanjalir upatasthe.
पिता पुत्रभ्याम् अवहितञ्जलि उपस्तते.
Lord Brahma, the father of Narad Muni, is the supreme person within this universe. As soon as Narad saw the great swan, he could understand that Lord Brahma had arrived. Therefore, he immediately stood up, along with Swayambhuva Manu and his son Priyavrat, whom Narad was instructing. Then they folded their hands and began to worship Lord Brahma with great respect. So, who three were sitting on the hill?
Narad
Was sitting on
Muni,
the
Pativrata, and who was the third one? Manu.
Priyavrat's father.
Manu.
Yeah, Manu.
Yeah, Swayambhuva Manu. That's right. So Swayambhuva Manu. So whose son is Swayambhuva Manu?
Brahmaji's. Brahmaji's son.
Yeah. So what's the relationship between Priyavrata and Brahma?
Priyavrata is the grandson
Father.
of Brahmaji.
Grandson. Yeah, that's right, grandson. And so what's the relationship between Narad and Priyavrata?
Disciple. Priyavrata is the disciple.
Yeah.
Yes, disciple. Also, is the uncle.
Uncle,
Oh,
yes.
yeah. Uncle, yes.
Right? So he's his spiritual master also, and he's his uncle also. And Brahma is his grandfather also. As stated in the previous verse, Lord Brahma was accompanied by other demigods, but his specific carrier was the great swan. Therefore, as soon as Narad Muni saw the swan, he could understand that his father, Lord Brahma, who is also known as Hiranyagarbha, was arriving. Why is Lord Brahma called Hiranyagarbha?
Because he was born from the navel.
That's right.
So the Garbha, because that is the Garbhodakshay
Navel
Vishnu
of
Garbh.
whom? That's right.
Garbhodakshay Vishnu.
Yeah, that's right. Thus he immediately stood up with Swayambhuva Manu and his son Priyavrat to receive Lord Brahma and offer him respect. Bhagavan api bharata tat upanitar anasukta vakena titaram.
Bhagavan api bharata
Sut Bhake
Udita guna ganavatara sujaya priyavratam adi purushastam.
Udita Gurugana Avatara Sujaya Priyavratam Adi Purusha
Sadaya hasa valoka iti havo hovacha.
Sadaya
Hasavaloka
iti
Iti Uvacha.
My dear King Parikshit, because Lord Brahma had finally descended from Satyalok to Bhulok, Narad Muni, Prince Priyavrat, and Swayambhuva Manu came forward to offer him objects of worship and to praise him in highly qualified language according to Vedic etiquette. At that time, Lord Brahma, the original person of this universe, felt compassion for Priyavrat and looking upon him with a smiling face, spoke to him as follows. That Lord Brahma descended from Satyalok to see Priyavrat indicates that the matter was very serious. Narad Muni had come to advise Priyavrat about the value of spiritual life, knowledge, renunciation, and bhakti, and Lord Brahma knew that Narad's instructions were very impressive. Therefore, unless Lord Brahma personally went to Gandhamadana hill to request Priyavrat, Lord Brahma knew that Prince Priyavrat would not accept his father's order. So Swayambhuva Manu was trying to convince Priyavrat, come back, become the emperor. Narad Muni is telling him, no, don't. You remain engaged in your spiritual practice. Now Lord Brahma wants also Priyavrat to be the emperor. And he understands Swayambhuva Manu will not be able to convince him, so he's come. Brahma's purpose was to break Priyavrat's determination. Therefore, Brahma first looked upon Priyavrat with compassion. His smile and compassionate features also indicated that although Brahma would request Priyavrat to accept household life, Priyavrat would not be out of touch with devotional service. By the blessings of a Vaishnava, everything is possible. This is described in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu as Kripa Siddhi, or perfection attained simply by the blessings of a superior person. So Lord Brahma is giving him the mercy. Kripa Siddhi. Kripa Siddhi. Mercy of the devotee. Mercy of Lord Krishna or his devotee. One usually becomes liberated and perfect by executing the regulative principles set down in the Shastras. Nonetheless, many persons have achieved perfection simply by the blessings of a spiritual master or superior. So the mercy of the spiritual master, mercy of the pure devotee. Priyavrat was the grandson of Lord Brahma, and as joking competition sometimes takes place between grandson and grandfather, in this case also Priyavrat was determined to remain in meditation, whereas Brahma was determined that he ruled the universe. Thus Lord Brahma's affectionate smile and glance meant, my dear Priyavrat, you have decided not to accept household life, but I have decided to convince you that you must accept it. Actually, Brahma had come to praise Priyavrat for his high standard of renunciation, austerity, penance, and devotion, so that he would not be deviated from devotional service, even though he would accept household life. So Brahma is giving him the assurance, he's giving him the mercy and the assurance that don't worry, although you will take up family life, you will still be engaged in devotional service. In this verse, one important word is Sukta Vakena by Vedic hymns. In the Vedas, there is the following prayer to Lord Brahma. Hiranya Garbha Samavarta Tagre Bhutasya Jatipatir Eka Asit. Brahma was received with appropriate Vedic hymns, and because he was welcomed according to the Vedic etiquette, he was very pleased. So there is etiquette to be followed in receiving great personalities. And here he was given a good reception, and he was very pleased by that. Appropriate reception for the great personalities. Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Niboda tate damritam bravimi.
Nibodatate damritam bravini.
Masu itum devam arhasi aprameyam.
Masu yatum devam arhasi aprameyam.
Vayam bhavaste tata esha maharshir.
Vayam bhavaste tata esha maharshi.
Vahama sarve vivasha yasya dishtam.
Vahama sarve vivasha yasya distam.
Lord Brahma, the Supreme Person within this universe, said, My dear Priyavrat, kindly hear attentively what I shall say to you. Do not be jealous of the Supreme Lord, who is beyond our experimental measurements. All of us, including Lord Shiva, your father, and the great sage Maharishi Narad, must carry out the order of the Supreme. We cannot deviate from his order. Of the 12 great authorities in devotional service, 4, Lord Brahma himself, his son Narad, Swayambhuva Manu, and Lord Shiva were present before Priyavrat. So the Mahajans, the 12 Mahajans, which are mentioned in Bhagavatam, out of them 4 are already here in front of Priyavrat. What a great assembly must be, no? They were accompanied by many other authoritative sages. Brahma first wanted to impress upon Priyavrat that although these great personalities are all authorities, they cannot possibly disobey the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is described in this verse as Deva, which means always glorious. The power, glory, and potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can never be diminished. So, God is omnipotent. Omnipotent. His glories till today, Ananta Shesha is singing the glories of the Lord since time immemorial, and till today he's not finished the glories of God. In the Upanishad, the Lord is described as Apapa-Vidha, which indicates that he's never affected by anything materially considered sinful. So no sin can overcome God. God's activities are not material, they are transcendental. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam describes the Supreme Personality of Godhead as being so powerful that nothing we might consider abominable can affect him. An example sometimes given to explain the position of the Supreme Lord is that of the sun, which evaporates urine from the earth but is never affected by contamination. The Supreme Lord can never be accused of doing anything wrong. So the sun is shining on the garden, on the flowers. The sun is also shining on the urine and evaporating the urine. So does it mean the sun has become impure? No, the sun never becomes impure. The sun is always pure, in fact, purifying other things. So the Supreme Lord, even though he comes to the material world, can never be touched by the material energy. He's never overcome by the material energy. He's the controller of material energy. So he can never do anything wrong. God can never do anything wrong. God can never do anything sinful. When Lord Brahma went to induce Priyavrat to accept the responsibility for ruling the universe, he did not go whimsically. He was following the dictations of the Supreme Lord. So Brahma is saying to follow the orders of God. You see, the difference of God and us is here. When we come to the material world, we commit sinful activities. We get covered by Maya. But when God comes to the material world, he never gets covered by Maya. He never engages in sinful activity. That's the difference between God and us. So, indeed, Brahma and other genuine authorities never do anything without his permission. So, Lord Brahma is following the orders of God. He's not saying, oh, it will be so nice, my grandson should be the emperor, so I want to see my grandson emperor. No, he's following the order of God. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. The Lord dictated Vedic knowledge to Brahma through his heart. The more a living entity is purified by devotional service, the more he comes in direct contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So, God is there in our heart as Paramatma. The more our material contamination goes away, the more we will be able to hear God, feel God's presence, the more we will be able to see God in our heart. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Bhagavad Gita 10.10. So, God, He's there, Paramatma, in our heart, and He gives us the intelligence by which we can go to Him. When He sees the sincerity, He sees someone is sincere to understand God, He makes the arrangements. He sees one is engaged in devotional service, He makes the arrangements. Lord Brahma, therefore, had not come to Priyavrat by his own whims, rather it is understood that he had been ordered to persuade Priyavrat by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose activities cannot be understood by material senses, and who is therefore described herein as Aprameya. Thus, Lord Brahma first advised Priyavrat to hear his words with attention and without envy. So, why is okay, here Prabhupada is explaining why one is induced to perform certain acts despite his desire to do something else is indicated herein. One cannot disobey the orders of the Supreme Lord, even if one is as powerful as Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Manu, or the great sage Narad. All these authorities are certainly very powerful, but they do not have the power to disobey the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Lord Shiva, Lord Shiva is the Lord of the material world. Even he cannot act independently. Even he follows the orders of God. Lord Brahma, he's the secondary creator of the universe. He's the most powerful living entity in this universe. But he can't do things whimsically. He is also not independent from following the orders of God. So great personalities. It doesn't mean that if one is a great personality, they can disobey the orders of God. No, in fact, the greater the personality, the more they follow God's orders. Since Lord Brahma had come to Priyavrat in accordance with the orders of the Supreme Lord, he first wanted to dispel any suspicions that he might be acting as Priyavrat's enemy. Lord Brahma was following the orders of the Supreme Lord, and therefore it would be worthwhile for Priyavrat to accept Lord Brahma's order as the Lord desired. So that's why Lord Brahma is telling Priyavrat, don't be envious of God, follow God's order. Here we hear in the translation. He's saying that Shiva, Manu, me, all of us follow God's orders. We cannot not follow God's orders. So you also, don't be jealous of God. You follow God's order. And he's saying important word, who is beyond our experimental measurements. We may try to measure God with our own mind, with our intellect, but we will not be able to measure God because our mind and intellect is limited. God is unlimited. He's spiritual. So we need to hear about God to understand God. We need to hear about Him from the devotees. Hear about him from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita.
Hare Krishna, Shilpa.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
did Naradji wanted Priyavrata to leave actually to renunciate?
And
Was
yeah,
it?
Narad Muni was telling Priyavrat, you continue doing your austerities.
Yeah, so means you leave the kingdom, right?
Yeah, Priyavrat had already left the kingdom. You see, that's what we heard, that Manu had two sons, Uttanapad and Priyavrat.
Yes,
Priyavrat was
yes.
elder, and he had
Yeah,
already left.
he had already.
And yeah, he had already left. He was following Narad's orders.
Narad's order.
He was
Okay.
doing austerities under the instruction
Okay, I
of
thought he
Narad.
was still there, but he was like, he's going to leave because Narad Muni had told him that you should renunciate. No. Okay.
He left.
He was a pure devotee and he engaged in devotional service and all,
Yes.
but okay. But I thought he was still in the kingdom. I mean, ruling.
No.
Oh,
No.
and
He was on this Gandha Madana hill.
okay,
And the ruling was done by Uttanapa, Dhruva
Uttampa,
Maharaj, and all those
his brother.
descendants. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Natasya kaschet tapasa vidyaya va
Natasya kaschet tapasa vidyaya va
na yoga viryena manishaya va.
na yoga viryena manishaya va
Naivartha dharme parata svato va.
naivarta dharme parata svato va
Kritam vihantam tanubred vibhuya.
Kritam
kritam
vihantum
vihantum tanubred
tanubhutiyat.
One cannot avoid the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not by the strength of severe austerities and exalted Vedic education, or the power of mystic yoga, physical prowess, or intellectual activities. Nor can one use his power of religion, his material opulence, or any other means, either by himself or with the help of others, to defy the orders of the Supreme Lord. That is not possible for any living being from Brahma down to the end. In the Brahad Aranyaka Upanishad 3.8.9, Yagyavakya says to Gargi, the daughter of Gargamuni, Etasya va aksharasya prashasane Gargi Surya Chandramasau vidhratau tishtataha. My dear Gargi, everything is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even the sun, the moon, and the other controllers and demigods like Lord Brahma and King Indra are all under his control. So here Prabhupada is quoting Brahad Aranyakya Upanishad. Conversation between Yagyavakya and Gargi. Gargi is Gargamuni's daughter. Gargamuni is the one who had done the naming ceremony of Krishna and Balaram. And it is said the same Gargamuni comes as Nilambar Chakravarti in Chaitanya Lila. So anyway, what Yagyavakya is saying that who is the supreme controller is God. God is the supreme controller. Everything is under the control of God. Now the sun, the moon, who's controlling them? Who's controlling that the sun every morning must rise in the east, must go down in the west? The moons travel. Who's controlling? God is controlling. Who's controlling what Lord Brahma has to do? What Indra has to do? God is controlling. So we can see no matter how great a personality is, everyone is still under the control of God. Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, these are great personalities, but they're all being controlled by God. An ordinary human being or animal who has accepted a material body cannot go beyond the jurisdiction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's control. So, of course, such great personalities are under control of God. So we human beings or animals, we are also under control of God. A material body includes senses. However, the sense activities of so-called scientists who try to be free from God's laws or the laws of nature are useless. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7.14, Mama Maya Duratyaya. It is impossible to surpass the control of material nature, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead is working behind it.
Hare Krishna.
So God, Hare Krishna.
So when Brahma is asking Priyavrat to take up this position and, come into this subconscious thing, I mean, taking care of the kingdom, is it also the will of Supreme Personality of Godhead?
Yes, this is what Brahma is telling to Priyavrat, that it is the will of God. So please accept it. This is exactly what Brahma is telling him.
Okay.
And he's telling him that everyone is under God's control. Brahma is saying to Priyavrat that even Brahma himself, he's saying, I'm also under control of Supreme Personality of Godhead. I'm also under God's control. So here to understand this point, that's why Prabhupada quoted the Brahan. Where did the screen go? Are you all able to see the screen? Okay. From the Brahad Arankya Puran. Okay. So now Krishna is saying, Mama Maya Duratyaya. That one cannot get out of the material world. Only when one surrenders to me, one can get out. So why Krishna can say that? Why God can say that? Why? Because material energy is under control of God. We say the universal energy, universal law. So who is controlling this universal energy? God is controlling. We give different names. We say the universe, so who's controlling the universe? God is controlling. Some will say some energy. So who's controlling the energy? God is controlling. Sometimes we are proud of our austerities, penances, and mystic yogic powers, but it is clearly stated herein that one cannot surpass the laws and directions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, either by dint of mystic power, or scientific education, or austerities and penances. It is impossible. So one may try to get as much knowledge as possible. One can try to get as much siddhi, mystic power, as possible. One can try to do as much austerities, like Hiranyakashipu, such difficult austerities, penances. He wanted to become God, but yet he couldn't. So no matter what we try, we can never become God. It's impossible. One cannot surpass the laws and directions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we cannot become God. We can get, no matter how much mystic power we want, how much ever austerities we do, penances, and no matter how much knowledge we get, we can never become as great as God. We are always under the control of God. Apareyam. That's why God is called Apareyam. No one is equal to or greater than God. No one can become equal to or greater than God. The word Manishaya, by intelligence, is of special significance. Priyavrat might argue that Lord Brahma was requesting him to accept family life and the responsibility for ruling a kingdom. Although Narad Muni had advised him not to enter household life and be entangled in material affairs. Whom to accept would be a puzzle for Priyavrat, because both Lord Brahma and Narad Muni are authorities. They both are spiritual masters, right? Narad Muni is now telling Priyavrat, oh, you continue with your austerities. Don't enter family life. Don't take up the throne. You continue doing austerities. Here Lord Brahma is saying, no, you come, you take. It's the order of God. Now, under the circumstances, the use of the word Manishaya is very appropriate, for it indicates that since both Narad Muni and Lord Brahma are authorized to give instruction, Priyavrat should neglect neither of them, but should use his intelligence to follow the advice of both. So they both are Mahajan, Brahma and Narad Muni. So now Priyavrat has to follow both advice. To solve such dilemma, Srila Rupa Goswami has given a very clear conception of intelligence. He says, Anasaktasya Vishayan Yatharham Upayunjata Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. Vishayan, material affairs, should be accepted without attachment, and everything should be dovetailed with the service of the Lord. That is real intelligence, Manisha. So now Priyavrat, he has to decide with intelligence what to do. So Prabhupada is helping us understand Srila Rupa Goswami's quote in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. What is real renunciation? Artificial renunciation is, oh, I give up the world, I don't have anything to do with the world. But real renunciation, accepting material things, accepting everything material without attachment, understanding that it belongs to God, so it should be used in the service of God. That is real intelligence. Like Prabhupada taught us. He didn't say, oh, no, aeroplane material, I cannot use aeroplane. I'm sannyasi, I cannot sit in aeroplane. No, he used aeroplane. For what? To travel world 14 times. And for what? To spread Krishna consciousness. So in service to God. He used dictaphone. He didn't say, I'm sannyasi, I cannot use technology. No, he used typewriter, dictaphone, to give us this beautiful Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, all these books, these wonderful, wonderful books. So everything to be used in service of God. That is real renunciation. That is real intelligence. Becoming a family man or king in the material world is not harmful if one accepts everything for Krishna's service. So that is the central point. That's the focal point. How to serve God or how to serve Krishna. That necessitates clear intelligence. Mayavadi philosopher says, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. This material world is false and only the absolute truth is real. However, an intelligent devotee in the line of Lord Brahma and the great sage Narad, or in other words, in the Brahma Sampradaya, does not consider this world false. That which is created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be false, but using it for enjoyment is. Everything is meant to be enjoyed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 5.29. Bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme proprietor and enjoyer, and therefore everything should be dovetailed for his enjoyment and service. So, we may think, oh, this world is false, and so I need to give it up. No, but the authorities, Lord Brahma is teaching us. We are coming in Brahma Sampradaya. We are being taught that this world is not false. How can be something that is created by God be false? Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, Devi hi esha gunamai. 7:14, Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, text 14, he's saying this material energy is divine. So how can something divine be false? So this material world is very much existing. What is false is thinking that it is for our enjoyment, thinking that we are the body. That is false. But understanding that I am spirit soul, part and parcel of God, this world belongs to God, so it should be used in service of God. That is the truth. And Krishna is saying in chapter 5, text 29, Bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloke maheshwaram, that God is the owner of everything. He's the owner of this material world. He's the enjoyer of this material world. So everything should be engaged in his service for his enjoyment. Then we will say, oh, God enjoys. Of course, God is a person, so he enjoys. How can we can enjoy? We are able to enjoy because God enjoys. We are part and parcel of God. So this world belongs to God, so it should be used in service of God. This is what Brahmaji is trying to explain to us. Like we say, oh, I'm the owner of this house, so I should be able to enjoy this house, isn't it? That's how we do, no? So this owner of the entire material creation is God. So it should be used for his enjoyment, his service. Regardless of one's circumstances, favorable or unfavorable, one should use everything to serve the Supreme Lord. That is the perfect way to use one's intelligence. So by our intelligence, we need to engage everything in service of God, not artificial renounce. Here, Priyavrat, Lord Brahma is telling him that it's the order of God for you to accept the kingdom. So accept it as service. Use this as to serve God. So everything can be used in the service of God. The more we hear from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, the more our intelligence will be purified. The more we will be able to serve God. The more we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The more our intelligence will be purified, the more we will be able to serve God. And service to God begins by hearing and chanting. That is how devotional service begins, hearing and chanting. So the more we hear, the more we chant, the more we are serving God. Is that okay?
Yes. So it relates to us in Grihastha, that. Yeah.
Yes. That
We
how
do
we should live in
everything.
Grihastha life.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Because one may say artificially renouncing that, oh, I'm giving up my Grihastha life. But then that becomes artificial renunciation. But real renunciation is understanding that God is the owner, God is the controller. Whatever I have, I need to engage in God's service.
Yeah. Engage in His service. Right.
Yeah. So it's not easy, but we have to begin somewhere. Right. Something, one thing we can do, two things we can do, three things we can do in a day.
Yeah. Like offering prasadam, right? And then eat.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, offering prasadam. And then same, we are giving family members to eat prasadam, so we are serving them.
Right.
Become more God conscious, become Krishna conscious. So like that. This is what Krishna, we have been hearing in Bhagavad Gita, in the 18th chapter also, where Krishna has been telling to Arjuna that whatever duties one has given by God, do those duties for the satisfaction of God. What we do, we say, no, I don't want to do anything. We want to renounce. Oh, I don't want to do, I don't want to do. So Krishna is saying, even if it is very difficult, do it for satisfaction of God. Krishna's satisfaction, service to Krishna, service to God. So, thank you so much. Gopal ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.